Hi guys, it's Juzzy Evo X here, back with another install review, and today we're looking at the whiteline adjustable rear sway bar, which has, as you can see, 3 holes adjustable on either side, being firmest, medium and softest setting. When you buy the rear sway bar kit, it comes with these bushings, which now are grease free because they've got a PTFE lining on it, so it's quite smooth. On the inside they have this material here, which just, kind of just feels and looks like a fur, oddly enough. So it's nice and gentle on there. It comes with these alloy lateral lock kits, so there's one for either side, which are designed to centralize your sway bar whilst you're driving, and it just comes with an Allen key just to undo and tighten these Allen key bolts. Alright guys, so here we are underneath the Evo 10. As you can see, the car's on ramps on both sides, so everything's nice and even in place. So here you can see we've got the stock rear sway bar. Stock bushings. It's got a collar here to prevent any movement of the bar from side to side. To get these, the bushing bracket off, there's two 12mm you need to take off. And then here on the side of the actual rear sway bar, you've got the end links. So the end link is not an adjustable item from factory, and you need a 14mm to take off the bolts of that. You won't be able to use an impact gun because the drive shaft is too close to the bolt on the other side of this. You could use one for this one, it's nice and easy. Let's get to it now. Alright guys, so once you undo the 14 on the other side of this thread here, that enables you to pivot the end link up like that, so that it's actually out of the way. As you can see, straight up, out of the way. It's difficult to get to the 14 because you can't get there because of the arm that's here, and so you would really need to take the wheel off to get to this opposite side. So what they do is they actually have two 14mm bolts here. Alright guys, just a tip, because you can't actually get a good leverage to get this 14mm out if you're doing this as a home job, the best way to do it is to get a ratchet, a unilateral ratchet, which is a 14mm size. Put it on an angle like this, and then put a crowbar or leveraging bar onto the end of this spanner, and then put it this way and start trying to get it out. There's not enough room to the ground. If you're not strong enough to remove that bolt, you can't get an impact wrench in there. So that's my tip. All you need to do is just have a couple of clicks with that ratchet so you can loosen it, and then the rest of it, as you can see, you can do it by hand. Same thing goes for this one. It's hard to get leverage because of this collar that's on the bracket. So the same thing again. I just used the unilateral 14. I just had it in this position here. It was enough for me to get it to click once or twice, and then the bolt started coming loose, so the rest of it I can undo by hand. Alright guys, so when you go to take the 14mm out of the bottom of these brackets, this one on this side here can't come out all the way because the shock's in the way. So what you want to do is just loosen it a little bit, and then you can completely undo this bolt here, so that the brackets then enables you to pivot out and slide it down. Then what you can do is you can get your 14mm universal ratchet onto the back of this thread, and you can undo the bolt. The bolt will then come undone. As you can see, it's loose now, so I'll just continue to loosen that by hand and disconnect that. This prevents you from having to remove the wheel, so it's nice and easy. Here's what the standard Oem End Link looks like. As you can see, this is a December 08 model. It's not split or torn in any way, but it's kind of deformed. As you can see, it moves from side to side, but it's not too bad a condition, but it's certainly not as brand new as this lovely new whiteline item. So the way this works is you have to have at least 14mm thread inside this main barrel here in order for it to keep its strength. If you wind it out too far, then it won't be strong enough, and you face the chance of it snapping or breaking or somehow getting damaged on the part. So you won't be able to actually set the length yet, because you've actually got to put the rear sway bar in, and then depending on which of these 3 hole settings you use, you'll then adjust it to suit. Basically, when it's in place, you want to wind the barrel so that the length is just right, so that there is no movement, and then you tighten it with spanners from there. When you install the unit, as per the whiteline instructions, it says that you need to have a washer on both sides of the actual end of the sway bar. So as you can see, they supply you with one, so the way it will go is like that, and then the sway bar will sit in between these 2 washers. You'll tighten down that nut there. On the rear right hand side of the car, it's actually difficult to get any leverage to remove the lower sway bar link from the sway bar. So what I've found is, if you remove your rear right wheel and then you get your universal ratchet to the top sway bar bolt, you'll be able to use some leverage to get that bolt undone. That will then enable you to pull the sway bar out with the end link attached to it, because you don't really need to go to the effort of removing the end link on this side. It can simply just pull through as one part. You're not going to need to separate this because you want to put it on again, so you may as well do it all whilst it's outside of the car. So I've been able to undo the 14mm bolt on the top of the end link and simply pulled it back this way. As you can see, there it is. I've then gone underneath the car and I've undone the 12mm bolts for the sway bushings on both sides. That then just enables it to hang loose like such. And what I'm going to do now is try to push the feed the sway bar out through this side here. Obviously this end link's not going to be a problem because it's the first thing out, doesn't need to go through anywhere, and it should all come out as one piece. I was able to get the rear sway bar out nice and easy from that right wheel side. So now I've actually put them here side by side of a stock and a white line sway bar, and as you can see, when you line them up, the position of where the hole is from factory is really where the white line would be on the softest setting. So you've got medium and you've got the tightest setting there as well. So at first I thought that I would put it on the tightest setting, but it's actually quite a distance in difference there. So I think I'll do what most people do, and I'll put it on a medium setting, and if I feel that I want to adjust it from there, then I can always just unbolt the end links and put it into the tightest setting there. So here before we were looking at the bushings and the bushings bracket. As you can see, this is the new bushing that will go into the white line part. The factory uses this sort of collar here to prevent the movement, and then here's a part that will go on with the Allen key to stop movement on the white line bar. So you will reuse the bracket from your factory sway bar simply by lifting it up. There's no bolts to undo it. Then you'll simply just pop this over the white line bar like so, and then your new one will go down on top like that. I need two hands to do that, but you'll get the idea. So as you can see here, I've put the new bushing on and I've used the OEM bracket for the bushing. I've also put this collar on here to prevent any movement from side to side. When you put this collar on, don't do it up tight yet, because when you go to position it in the car, this will be 1 or 2 mil out anyway. So just have it just finger tight, and then you can use the Allen key bolt to tighten it in place. When you put it in place, it has to have 3 or 4 mils gap between this and the bushing to allow for any movement. You don't want it to be rubbing whilst you're driving, otherwise you'll damage the bushing. So when you go to put the 17 mil nut onto this thread, this bolt completely rotates in this assembly, so as you tighten this, what will happen is the whole part will want to turn. There isn't much grip here for this collar between this rubber bushing, so I really do not like this design. That's just my thoughts on it, but you actually have to use some sort of clamping tool to hold this collar whilst you tighten this bolt. And as you can see, this is the thinnest tool I've got to hold that collar. It's not damaging rubber, but I think that's not really the best design. That collar should be thicker, or the washer that they provide should be slightly smaller so that you've got more grip to hold on to that. But you will need to tighten it so that there's no movement in the end link whatsoever. So I'm just going to go and try and put my end link into the middle hole of the opposite side, and as you can see, it will not fit through. And the reason why it won't fit through is because that casting mark on the right hand side where you can see there's a scrape, the paint or whatever they've done, it hasn't been drilled properly, or the finish there's too tight. So I'll need to get a drill to slightly elongate, or just file down that edge so that I can get this part through. Something to keep an eye out for. So this is the way it should look. This is the Australian passenger side, or the US driver side, and this side here is the driver's side for Australia, or passenger side for America. As you can see, the end links are on the top side of the bar. Let's go and fit it. I've just been able to feed the sway bar in through from this right hand side. I was able to get it in without any issue at all. It did not foul any part of the suspension, the arms, the lines for the pump. No issues whatsoever. So I've got it on a medium setting, as you can see there. I've been able to use a impact wrench of a 17. So this bolt that comes from Whiteline's a 17, but it's a 14 from factory. And again, you have to use some sort of spanner to hold this circular collar whilst you put the impact in. It wasn't so hard doing it whilst it's in position, but it was certainly a lot harder when I had this lower one out of the car, and was just doing it out of the car. So that's one side. I'm going to pop the wheel back on, and I'll go to the other side and do the exact same, and then the job will be done. So the install is now complete. As you can see, here's what it looks like from the middle of the back of the car. The sway bar was relatively easy to install. More than anything, it just takes time to get the phone out, start recording, and having to think about what you're going to say before you actually record it. So, as you can see, there's about 3 to 4 mils of gap there between the collar and the bushing. It just retains the standard OEM bushing bracket, 12 mils. You use the Allen key to tighten in these collars here, prevents any movement from side to side. Moving over here towards the end links. So the end links have gone in. Important thing to note is that you need to have the washer on this side and on that side. Then you put the 17mm bolt on. Once you do the same thing for the top, so you need the washer on both sides. It's easiest to take the wheel off to tighten the back of that nut. Once you tighten it in place, then you can use a set of 17 spanners, one on here and one on each collar, on each end, so you rotate it to the distance that you want, and then you can tighten them from there. At the moment, I've got it wound in all the way So there's no concerns that whiteline have mentioned about having 14.5 mils of thread at least inside the barrel, so to speak. So the next thing is whiteline recommends that you take caution, go for a nice, decent, but not ridiculously crazy drive around corners. Get a feel for the car and see what you think. It then says after 100 kilometers to check the tension on all of the bolts, make sure that everything's fine, and if you wish to adjust from there. So this has been an install I've been wanting to do for quite some time now. The sway bar came with a set of decals, which I'll probably put 1 or 2 on the sway bar and post some photos on Instagram. Alright guys, if you've got any questions, please feel free to let me know. Just thinking off the top of my head, the Australian driver's side was more difficult to get to. I had to take the wheel off because around this muffler area it was a lot more difficult to get leverage, but in the end, once I took the wheel off, it was actually relatively easy. And yeah, I can't wait to take it for a spin now and see what it's like. As always, please like, comment and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.